Okay.
So my name is Amy Fitzpatrick, and I'm the Director of Marketing for IAVM. And I wanted to thank everyone for attending this particular E3 today. We have a wonderful panel of individuals who are here to speak with you today. I'm going to turn it over to Gina, and Gina is going to introduce herself and welcome everyone as well. And then we will turn it over to our panelists and get started.
Hi everyone, I'm Gina Brighton, Director of Membership for IAVM and currently the Interim Director for the IAVM Foundation. I want to welcome everyone. We're excited to bring this to you today and we hope you all enjoy. And thank you to our moderator and our panelists for participating today. We'll turn it right over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us to participate in a meaningful conversation with everyone. To get started, Ebony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ebony Hattix. I'm the Senior Manager of Box Office Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. I've been a member of IAVM since about 2014, I believe, and current Chair of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Leadership Committee.
My name is Jason Blackwell. I am the Assistant General Manager at the Paramount Theater in beautiful downtown Oakland. And I have been a member of IAVM since 2010. I'm also a member of the Diversity and Leadership Committee and thrilled to be here today.
Well, thank you, Ebony and Jason, both. My name is Kletra Newton. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the San Mateo County Event Center in San Mateo. I too am a member of the Diversity and Inclusive Leadership Committee with IAVM, and we're proud to welcome our new chair, Ebony. As she mentioned, we are so appreciative and excited for her leadership along with Cynthia Tucker. So I think this is a great opportunity to move into our conversation. This is absolutely a conversation that has great timing and great importance, not only in our industry, but in the world at large. So I'd like to get started by asking both of you, and please feel free to chime in, if we could explore the culture of inclusion within venue management. And does that culture need to be created, or does it already exist and it needs to be strengthened? Please, Jason, if you would start.
Absolutely. So I'll start by saying that I think any culture that is a healthy one is always looking to become stronger. I think the power of a particular culture is in its diversity. In fact, I would say over the years in my history of venue management, which is more than 20 years now, I have found that the strongest, most capable, most thoughtful teams that I've been a part of in this world are the ones that had many voices coming to the table with many backgrounds and many experiences that could really add to the richness, as well as think about what is missing from what we're doing, how we can serve our communities better, how we can be better at whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And I think this is a wonderful moment, quite frankly, in the world for us to be looking to continue to further that. I think inclusion is about not just saying that you welcome somebody. I think inclusion is also about taking proactive steps to actually do it. And being the operations head that I am all about getting things done. And so I'm excited and ready and committed to finding ways of creating a more inclusive world within our industry and certainly within our association, because I feel that the association is just that. It's an association. It's made up of its members, and its strength comes from how it reaches all of its members, not just the ones who have perhaps been as lucky as I have been to be encouraged to be a part of this organization and to be actively participating, but also we need to do more to reach out to others and bring them in and hear their voices and ask for them to participate and be heard and to lead. So.
And I would definitely agree with Jason, and I would say that there's some inclusion, but there's some major room for improvement, which I think is basically our charge and our job, to look for those who may not see themselves and may need a person to help them along the way. I believe that within our organization, our relationships when genuine are the most important things to becoming more active and to being the major resource that we're all meant to be within venue management. And I think it's a place where once you start to build that relationship with people and you keep them engaged in what's going on, it's an area to learn. It's an area to be vulnerable and to open up about what we need and what is missing. As Jason said, you have a beautiful thing when you can have a little bit of everybody at the table and you don't feel like you're missing things. I think whenever you miss out on inclusion or including everybody, there's a part of the whole that's missing. And once you can find people to help fill in and encourage them to be a part, it becomes greater and better. And I think that's the whole mission of what we try to do. We try to be more educated. We try to be ready in situations, and we always try to have that networking relationship that's genuine and there for each one another. So very much so.
So I'd like to explore a little bit more of something that you touched upon, Ebony, and that's really the networking and relationship building, particularly in venue and events industries. Relationship building is critical for how we are able to be successful, how we are able to host and welcome others. And it's heavily contingent upon a working unit that becomes a body, in some cases a family, but yet oftentimes inclusion is still lacking, even in such an environment where those relationships exist. Talk to me a little bit about why you think that might be.
So I think that one of the things that we all do is we self-identify and we look for people who look like us. It's a natural thing that we all kind of do. It's kind of an imagery thing. We're programmed to within cultures to look for people who look like us or people who've been in the industry as long as us. So for example, if I've known you longer, I'm more likely to immediately gravitate toward you than I am if I've only known Jason for 2 seconds. So sometimes we get involved in a group and we forget to say, hey, Jason, come on over and talk to us and spread out the love, you know, of maybe he has something to add to the conversation that we haven't thought of just because he's different than us. He has different experiences than we do. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing way too often. We gravitate toward the people who we came in with, the people we went to venue management school with, and we forget that there are other people around us and among us that want to be invited into the room. So I think that's something, it's not a conscious thing that we do. However, we've got to be more aware, and we have to be intentional about what we do, especially when we come into spaces to network. I mean, no one walks into a room, you know, not to meet anybody. I've never been to a conference where somebody's like, I don't want to meet anyone. I just want to be in the back. No, we go into spaces to meet people. As venue managers, we are there because we touch everyone. We touch lives. We build relationships. That is how we do what we do, you know? And one of the things is we have to be genuine, and we have to learn about people and things and experiences that we've never heard about before. It only makes us better.
Mm-hmm. Jason, do you have thoughts that you could add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually, one of the things that I love most about IAVM is that it actually, when you become a certified venue executive, you're not just a certified venue executive in the sector you happen to be working in. You have to know all the sectors, right? So we all have that tendency already built into our DNA to want to come together and to learn from each other. And all that I think we're really talking about today is looking to kind of expand that a little further and start thinking about where we come from as we enter the venue management world and how we can reach and bring more people into our community and hear from them and know that there are so many other opportunities that this association can do for its members when its members have people who look like them and have those shared experiences. You know, of course, we're always going to have that tendency to go towards those whom we are most comfortable with. The time that I spend with people who do production and operations is a huge part of what I consider to be my community here. But I also have many wonderful people who I've met and known and continue to lean on in these times, and in many others who come from other parts of the industry. And all I think what we need to do is find a way and take some proactive steps to reach those others, whether it's through our membership efforts, where we're holding on to this incredible amount of new members have come in the last number of years as we've expanded our membership. Are we reaching all of them? How do we know whether we're reaching them all or not? Do we know who they are and what their interests are and how they can contribute to making this association even stronger? And because it's for us, but it's also by us, and we need to find a way to continue to pull them into the conversation, and make sure that they feel like they're a part of this community. They're growing in the community like the rest of us want to and have for so long through the many offerings. But perhaps there are other offerings that we don't even know about that might be of interest to others. And that's a real opportunity. And that's how we continue to grow and become stronger.
One of the things that I've noticed, particularly at Venue Connect and also some of the regions meetings, is that you will always meet people who are interested in knowing and learning more about IAVM. And the members that make up the association are so welcoming, and there are greatly established relationships. But I feel that sometimes, to your point, not stepping outside of the group that you're already familiar with or that you're working with, it's not intentional not to embrace people coming in, but it just doesn't happen. So give us some tips on how we can be more mindful about doing that so that people start to become comfortable and engage in different ways.
I would say when you are in open spaces or open areas during the conference, open yourself up not to just to schedule a time to meet with your friends and your close relationships, but also take the time to say, hey, I'm going to take this time intentionally to look for someone I have no clue who they are or where they're from, or I've never seen them at a conference before, and I want to introduce myself. And I want to see, maybe they've been in IAVM for 5 years, 6 years, and maybe they're just now becoming more active, or maybe they're brand new and they want to know what's going on and try to share. And the one other thing that I can encourage is that if you meet someone who's new, introduce them to someone else. Maybe not a new person, introduce them that's been in it for a while, or someone who is older in the organization. Introduce them to a new person, and maybe you can kind of help spark a relationship, a genuine one, where they can find a common ground and can be of help to one another. So
I love those thoughts as individual actions we can take. I also think I would love to see the association take some new actions as well. When we were talking the other day, the idea of having a sort of, a mentor-mentee kind of support structure for those who are new members to the organization. Like, I love the Venue Connect new member, first-time member orientation who are showing up. And we talked about the thought of when new members come on, perhaps there's somebody who basically hosts them in a way that we kind of did in VMS, where a second-year person was taking care of all the first years, and you formed a team and you got to know each other, and you really create some community that allows you to be attracted to and connected to the organization throughout your history. Like, those are the people, I remember all of my teammates at VMS, and I talk to them regularly. So that's the kind of thing, and you celebrate in their successes, and you do whatever you can to support them. So I think creating that kind of community is huge. I think also the fact that a couple of our colleagues have recently convened a Black resource group, I think is a huge way of connecting and having that connective tissue that allows you to feel part of something in a way that you can connect to it and you can get real information and real talk from your community. And it's not about excluding, it's about including. So those are little things that I think would be great. And I'm sure there are many others that we aren't throwing out here today, but but any little ideas that we can do to retain those members, and we retain those members by reaching them where they are. I think a number of people may not participate because they don't necessarily see that they have the time, or maybe they don't have access to a computer in their job, so that they don't know what VenueNet is, or they don't know how to get into VenueNet. Or, you know, there are other barriers that exist that maybe those of us who do have the access aren't thinking about, that I think we could really spend some time looking to try and break down and go out and reach people and see how we can serve them better, and ask them, what is it we can do to serve you better? What is it we can do to connect with you? Not because we're asking for a donation, or because we're, you know, trying to pull them into a committee, but how can we serve you better? And did you know there are all these great opportunities to serve? And we are an association, as I've said a couple of times. So
I love that, Jason. Sorry, please.
No, one of the other things that I wanted to say is that you may not be a part of a committee per se, but you may have an idea that could help someone. And one of the most important things is just shoot an email to someone and be like, hey, introduce yourself. I had this idea and I was wondering if it would be, you know, could be possible, or if we could make it happen. And that is something I really feel like the DILC committee, you know, we embrace that. We're like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can get it moving, and how, if you want to be involved, you can be involved. If you don't want to be involved, but you had the idea, please, by all means, you know, contact somebody. Don't just hold it in. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Keisha.
Yeah. One of the things that I really loved, Jason, that you mentioned is being of service. And certainly servant leadership is a phrase and a tag phrase that we hear. People use it in different capacities to explore the idea, but it absolutely is valid. And it really does create an environment where people feel welcomed on the journey to inclusion. And I think what may happen is that a lot of people perhaps don't realize that they're in a position of leadership or in a position of privilege where they're really able to reach over and invite someone in and create that level of allyship. That's another popular word right now, but absolutely important, that's needed in any association. So if I'm listening right now and I'm wanting to participate, if I'm sitting in a position of leadership or of influence, if I have that privilege, how can I extend my benefit to someone as an opportunity for allyship? How do we start those conversations, both formal and informally?
Well, I guess for me, I would love the association to look at taking a step back at its structures when it comes to, I'll just use the example of committees. And maybe I'm naive, but it's not entirely clear to me how choices are made around who leadership is on committees. And I think, and frankly, active participation and seeking, and not just a call for volunteers, but active recruitment by members of a committee or by the association to continue to pull more participation in, and perhaps it's targeted. I think leadership is a huge part though, because it speaks to our initial conversation around seeing the people on the committee who are like you or who you share some values with. And perhaps there's a way for the association to look at how it's approaching that, and perhaps come up with a more structured approach, one that encourages more active participation from the membership and finds ways of doing that. I don't necessarily have a magical bullet to come up with that today, but having a simple process and making people aware of it might be just enough to get that going. A small step that can really start moving us in a new direction with fresh ideas, and perhaps there's other ways. And I also want to say that's going to be a little uncomfortable, perhaps, because it's been done in a particular manner, and I'm sure that's varied over time depending on who our leadership is. But the more we take the time to sort of expose these things and not worry as much about fault or blame, because that's not helpful at all, I think we expose and create new opportunities where we all come together and we have a shared vision for how things can be better and we can have more interest and commitment in what the association does to serve others. Because it is a privilege to be in these roles. It's a privilege for me to get to serve on the Diversity and Leadership Committee now for the second year. It was a privilege to serve on the Performing Arts Committee for a number of years. Being a part of that community and sharing in that. But I had access because of where I worked and who I worked for. You know, when I joined IAVM, I joined an incredible organization that's led by Robin Williams, who is so incredibly active and who pushes so hard for her leadership team to participate and educate itself and do whatever it can to make the organization stronger. And that was a privilege that not everybody has access to. And so I don't want to have others miss out on that opportunity or make that right connection, as Ebony was talking about earlier with others, where that might lead to your next great job. You don't know. And you all may share some interesting ideas that you bring to that committee, and you can make them soar because of the opportunity that was created, and people were reaching out to you and pulling you in, as opposed to waiting for you to jump in. So I love proactivity. I think it's so important to continue to grow.
I agree. And when it comes to having privilege, I know a lot of people tend to tense up at the whole word privilege, even though we tend to get defensive. Well, I don't feel privileged in this way, or I don't feel in that way. But if you just say, okay, wait a minute, let me just back off what, you know, my first thoughts are of being told that I have a privilege. One, let me back off of that. And let me say, okay, what can I do for someone else that someone else may not be able to get into the room? How do I let somebody in the room where it happens? And for, like Jason said, we're on this committee and we're in the room where it happens. So how do I help somebody else get into that room? You know, am I scanning who's around me and who's talking to me and who's helping me develop ideas? Am I getting them into the right places and with the right people so that the ideas come to fruition, or that they see the potential in somebody else that maybe they would have not otherwise seen? That's the thing that we're talking about. That's what we need to do. We have to be open and available to serve everyone and help people who, you know, I got on this committee because I said I wanted to help those who didn't have a voice of their own, or I wanted to be the loudest person in the room for the person who couldn't speak. So that's what we're here for. I'm using my privilege to say, okay, there's someone else who needs a hand up. I remember when I first got into this industry, and my executive director was Todd Hunt, and I knew what he done in IAVM, and I said, hey, Todd, I want to be a part. And he said, okay, no problem. So once I'm in, I said, okay, Todd, I want to do some things. And he was like, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know, give me some direction, but I'm ready. And, you know, through his guidance and through his, you know, networking, he helped me to come along to where, you know, I can talk to anybody in a room, and I can tell them what I'm thinking, and I can, you know, go in and I want to advocate for other people. I want to be people's ally, you know, when they don't feel like they can be heard. And so, you know, through that connection, you know, it's opened up a broad world of other connections, especially through IAVM. And like Jason said, you never know if that's going to lead you to the next opportunity, or if it's going to just make you blossom where you're at. I mean, that's the one thing that's beautiful about our organization, our industry, is you can choose where you want to just be, you know. But when you're there, you have to be willing to be of service. That's one of our goals. And I encourage, you know, everybody, while we have this platform, to just go out there. I mean, there is stuff to be done. There are things we can do. And you may say, well, you know, I don't speak well, or, you know, I may not can, you know, be as graceful as someone else, but there is something that you can do. We are a service organization, and that is what we should do. We're here for the people, everyone.
I love that. We are a service organization. That's a new hashtag that we'll have to share with RB for sure. Great job, Ebony. What's wonderful also is that you mentioned that you would like to be an ally for someone. And I think that there may be some participants who are certainly joining us now, who see the three of us and think that maybe this is a diversity, race-based conversation that we're having. Perhaps the committee is diverse and inclusion as it pertains to race relations. And that's not necessarily the case. Certainly we could have that conversation, but that is not the full scope of what DILC is. So please, Ebony, I'd like for you to share and encourage people to learn more about DILC and how it is in a servant capacity.
So we are here for everyone. I mean, people with disabilities, we're here for the LGBTQ+ community. We're here for anyone who just diverse groups all together. We're here for everyone. We're here to serve. Like I said, we are here to be a voice. If we don't understand one of our things as allies, we're here to listen. We're here to learn. We're here to communicate. I think that's one of the most important things that if I get nothing else across today, and yes, I definitely talk with my hands, I'm sorry. But
love it.
I want you guys to understand that we are here for anyone. If you don't feel heard, reach out to us, and I'm opening Jason's email box up as well. But email us and tell us, what do you feel? When you come to a conference, what stops you from engaging? What would you like to see? What do you want to hear from a group? Because we're here listening. I may not understand the life of someone else. However, I know Ebony spoke a few weeks ago about empathy, and I really feel like I can have that empathy and that compassion to understand what you're telling me and to make sure that I'm passing that information along. One of the important things about the DILC community is we're trying to serve everyone. We're trying to make sure that, as Rip said, all means all, that we belong. We are here, and that's what we're trying to advocate for everyone.
Yeah, and to pick up on the theme of everyone, I mean, for me, there are a lot of things that we're all learning being apart from each other in this time physically. And certainly the association has shifted itself to provide an incredible amount of content online and opportunities for conversation and discussion. And I hope that this has opened the door to many more people being able to actively participate, because not everybody has the funds or the access to come to a conference, right? And so that's another big thing for me that I am really excited about, that I know the association is tackling, which is working with AMS to start getting our hands on what's going on with our demographics. Who are we as an association? What do we look like? What are our varying abilities? What are the different things that make us as strong as we are? And where are those, where are the people who we don't even know? Are we reaching them because we're programming and we're talking about the things that matter to them because we haven't had a chance to go out and ask them, or they can't afford to go to a conference, or whatever those things may be. So I am really excited about that. That's a huge part of my excitement, because I love, as I told Ebony, I love data from the standpoint of, it's really hard to know how well you're doing when you want to, when you have goals as a committee, if you don't know where you started, right? So if we know that our membership has certain numbers and features, and we're not seeing all of those numbers and avenues of diversity across how we run the organization, or how we serve the organization as volunteers in our committees, and our leaders don't match up, well then we're not doing enough, in my opinion, and we need to do more. But if we don't know the data, then we can't, it's only a feeling, right? And feelings are important, but I'm about tangible. I'm an ops guy. I'm about tangible. And so that's really exciting to me. And I'm hopeful that that's really going to make a difference. And I also hope and having that information. And I also hope that we are going to take away from this time where we're on the computer and we're talking to each other through these electronic magical spaces, is what I'll call them, that there's something to be gained and learned about how we can continue to reach people, and perhaps even do a better job of reaching our people, because they can't afford to do every in-person thing that we do. So I'm excited about those prospects, and my commitment to diversity is a personal one. It is, I got where I am now on frankly, on the paths that were laid for me and the opportunities that were created for me by a number of very talented people who saw in me a great amount of opportunity and passion for what I do, and they created paths for me. And I'll tell you right now, for the last 20 years, many of them, if not most of them, were women. And you know, I'm the product of a single parent family raised by a woman. So I am diversity as far as I'm concerned. And I have seen what it can do for everyone when there is so much power in that. The teams that I have built that have been the strongest and that I've been a part of that have been the strongest are the ones that were diverse, and had different concepts and ideas that we all brought to the table. So I'm excited. Sorry, I'll stop.
No, please. What you're sharing is so powerful. I'm shifting my attention, taking notes, because I loved I am diversity. That's fantastic. I think that's a statement that so many can lean into and embrace, even again, if it's not ethnicity specific. We're talking gender, we're talking abilities, we're talking so many different segments that often aren't brought to the conversation. And that's absolutely a part of what we're trying to do now. So some of these efforts that we're speaking of, some of the, if you're looking at data and analytics, which I too am an analytics person, Jason, and if we're going through and if we're quantifying, if we're checking the box, right? And we are identifying people that we want to extend a hand to, that we want to be connectional with, how do we make sure that there's a sense of belonging once we do? Because I've been a part of conversations with the different IAVM members in different spaces, and not just with this association, but also generally speaking, where people come in and they are a member, they participate, but they don't necessarily have that feeling of belonging. They're not leaning in and being brought into the fold in a way that's meaningful for them. How can we improve in that area?
Well, I think that's definitely one of the things that we're encouraging everyone on this call to take on, that sense of, hey, you're new. Let me bring you in. Let me introduce you. We want you to have that sense of belonging. That's what we're asking everyone to engage and be involved in, getting people to understand what we do and show them the love that we have in it, in this organization. I know one of the things that stops people occasionally, that was mentioned briefly, but like financially they can't get there. So maybe it's a matter of, more scholarships, and that's something that the committee works on. And we offer scholarships to certain gatherings, and, keeping in contact with people and just, using our network of people to stay in touch. I mean, we talk about right now what we're going through within our industries. One of the most important things is being connected to somebody who can understand what you're going through. And like you said, when they come to events, you embrace them, but it also has to happen in between the venue connects, the regional meetings, it's that phone call, it's that talk, it's that Zoom meeting with just you and one other person. I think one of the great things that IAVM does is the happy hours, because it gives me a chance to see the people I haven't seen in a while and kind of relax a little bit. That's one of the things that I think is important to everyone in this organization, is the building of the relationships. And like I said, they have to be the genuine building of relationships.
Mm-hmm. Jason?
Yeah, for me, taking that active interest and finding a way to create shared community is really important. And I think shared community comes from, as we've said a few times in this call, seeing people who look like you, have a shared experience that you can relate to. There's always that opportunity to connect with somebody in some way, whether it's specific to their work, whether it's a personal experience. Having these kinds of conversations really allows people to see who you are a little bit more than you see on the surface or on your LinkedIn profile page, right? So I think continuing to create those opportunities where you're breaking down barriers, where you can have those intimate conversations like Ebony was talking about, is huge. Shared experience is huge. It's really where you, it's how you best serve people and reach people, in my opinion. So the more we can continue to do these kinds of things, huge. The more we can continue to encourage and support continued new, fresh ideas into the various parts of the organization that serve all of us, I think the better, and pull people into those conversations so that they feel like they have that shared interest. They have, there's something in it for them as well, right? And they're serving a greater good that's more powerful for all of us when we are all engaged in that way. So.
I think it speaks volumes with IAVM leadership, top down, certainly commending Brad, the board, and all leaders at the top tier level within IAVM to open up these types of conversations, to have participants included in the dialogue, the 2020s, the E3s, to show that beyond intention, which is important, there's a commitment to expanding the conversation and making sure that people can find a space that feels good to them. They're not just a member. It's not just something that, again, to your point, Jason, that you're putting on your LinkedIn profile or you're putting on your resume. You are an actively engaged participant in an association that sees you. And now we want to hear from you. That's important. So many people walk away from conferences and don't have that experience. Is there a way that we've not yet explored where we can expand upon that experience and take back to our leadership to say, you know, this is something that's been overlooked and we should focus some attention here?
Well, I think as far as the new members go, the notion that I had mentioned earlier about having a new member sort of mentorship, if you will, so that they find they can be reached initially and not have to go to VMS in order to be reached, if you know what I'm saying, or go to Venue Connect to do that. I think it is a privilege to be able to afford to attend those particular activities. And if we're going to continue to engage people, then we need to reach them where they are. And I can't imagine that it would be that challenging to look at that number of folks who could be involved and find those who would be willing to have those calls on a monthly basis so people know what's going on. They're getting access to all the ways that IAVM serves them. They know what the opportunities are to also serve IAVM and the greater community itself, that they're not also getting direct information from our first timers about, gee, it would be great if. Those things can be carried forward to different committees, especially obviously all the existing committees, certainly ones around membership. Certainly we would be interested in diversity and inclusive leadership. You know, I think that's probably doesn't cost a tremendous amount, maybe I'm wrong, to come up with that. It doesn't seem like that's a big expense to be able to find a way to do something like that continues to really mine and go after best ways of supporting everyone. So.
And I would charge everyone that's on this call today to just look at their own organizations and say, okay, I know I'm involved. Let me see who's in my group membership maybe, and who's not as involved, and invite them in. I mean, there is nothing wrong with looking within your own organization and inviting someone in, because trust me, once they get here, we will welcome them, no problem. But we need help. It can't just be the Kletra, the Jasons, the Ebonys. it's got to sometimes be the other people who are out there. It's got to be the Amy's, the Jennifers, everybody's got to look within their organization, because that's who you're with most of the time, is your venue. So why not bring them into something that's good, help them learn and help them develop more, and that way everybody's moving. We're keeping a steady flow of not only new members, but we're also keeping people who are new with fresh ideas coming to the table and coming into the room and maybe giving us the fresh ideas that we need to make sure that we are embracing everyone and that no one is left out. So I encourage everyone to go within their organizations or even within their cities. If it's someone who's not a member of IAVM, maybe you can introduce them. You can be the representative, the ambassador, that opens the door, that says, hey, I know this great organization you all need to be a part of. They give you great information. It's the networks that last for forever. So please, go out and look for somebody. And with that challenge and that encouragement, I say, look for someone who does not look like you. Somebody that's different. And maybe, just maybe, you can be that person's ally. You can be their listening, their sounding board, their person who, if they have a small voice, that you can make it so much bigger.
I think it's powerful, Ebony, that you set forth a charge that we can all take on and breathe in, because it's easy to sit and say, well, no one's speaking to me about a particular topic, or no one's reached out to me. I've not been invited. So then the question becomes, how are you engaging? Who are you reaching out to? Are you making good noise to say, I'm interested, in raising your hand to say, I'm here, do you see me? That's absolutely fantastic, fantastic. In wrapping up to a point, one of the areas that we haven't touched on much, which I think is largely important across the board, is the educational component of venue management and what IAVM has to offer. I think that is a huge missing link for people to understand how they can become educated and ways to do that. Is there any thoughts that either of you will share on how that plays a role in certainly expanding the inclusion, and why education is important, just beyond saying that it is, right? I don't know that anyone's going to dispute that education is important, but we're talking about education within our industry. And quite frankly, we're all unicorns. If anyone who's working in the venue industry, events and entertainment in any way, we're MacGyvers. So if you can compound that with education, it makes you a superhero. Let's talk about it.
So I will give a lot of just praise to Venue Management School. I went through the 2-year part of the program, still gonna do my GI, hopefully, fingers crossed. But one of those reasons that it's really good is you get arenas, theaters, you get all sectors involved, and you're put into a class, and it's just the meeting of the mind. And that is always a beautiful thing, when you can sit and you can discuss things. And I know as the DILC committee, we've even helped look to make sure that some of the monographs and things are inclusive. And I know that we're going to continue some work just making sure that the education is inclusive as well. But going to those things, having a meeting of the minds, and seeing different people in maybe similar roles or different roles from you, it is encouraging. And it's also, opens your mind that, hey, I may not only be in the box office, someday I may be the GM, someday I may be, the operations manager, and how can I help my building with the knowledge that I know? So it helps expand who you are in your current role, and then opens doors for your next one. So definitely, and scholarships are available. If you need some information on that, just reach out and we'll try and help you find a scholarship to apply to. And hopefully through donations to the foundation, there will be many more. Just wanted to put that out there.
So education, lifelong learning are themes that are very much a part of my life, and have, I think, made me as strong as I can be when it comes to being a great venue manager. And I think that that's true for many people in our world, and certainly in life in general. I'm excited by the notion of continuing to push the envelope when it comes to topics that may be a little more controversial, perhaps, or topics that may be a little more discomforting for some, whatever they may be, topics that we've never covered before. I've been inspired in the last couple of years by talks that have been happening that have been sponsored by the Diversity in Leadership Committee. I've been inspired by talks that have happened by the Women in Leadership organization that I've seen at VC. And I want more of that. I want to see more of that in VMS. I want to see more of that in GI. I haven't had the privilege of going to SES at this point in my career, but I imagine that could be the same there, because the higher you go, the more you need to be looking at that high level and understanding foundationally what you can do to make your organization stronger, especially in each community that you are serving. So my commitment to education is very personal, but I know and I am convinced that all can continue to grow by pushing themselves and by having uncomfortable conversations, whatever they may be, one-on-one in a group setting. It is important to have safety. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's not, you don't always feel safe in every situation that you're in. And so I think it's important for us to be also thinking about how we can continue to create a safe space so that folks feel like they can speak their truth. Because education is also about dialogue. It's not about sitting and listening to somebody talk at you. I'll never forget Paul Turner struck me very personally when he spoke during AVSS about how adults learn. Adults learn through dialogue, through connection. They don't learn when you're just lecturing at them constantly. And I love that we continue to find ways of doing that, that we pull people into the conversation. And I want to see more of that and continue to reach out and do more of those sort of, I don't like cutting edge, but you know, pushing the envelope a little bit around what we're exploring. So.
Mm-hmm. You know, for both of you and the committee at large, I think it's so meaningful, and it's a true source of pride for me as a member of IAVM, as a Black woman, as a woman in leadership. One, yes, to Ebony's point, it's a privilege to be able to you know, have those bullet points, certainly. But this is a tremendous source of pride because the conversation is happening. This is not a conversation that I've heard before within IAVM. Doesn't mean that the conversation didn't take place, but certainly we weren't able to connect with 100 other people and have a conversation. The resource group that's been established, all of the actions and steps that are being taken toward one grand journey is getting us that much closer. And again, for me, it's just something that I want to share with everyone. If in any way you feel that you have something to contribute, you feel that you have something to share or to say, you know, as Jason mentioned, just being able to speak your truth, I think it's important you understand that within IAVM, there's a space to do that. Even if no one's held up a sign, if no one's personally invited you, and after Ebony's charge, we're going to, so get ready, we're reaching out. But know that that space is being held for you. You're welcomed here. And I can personally share that, again, top down from the CEO, there's not one person that I've ever reached out to, even when I was new to the association, who didn't respond in a way that mattered, who didn't say, hey, I'm here to hear what you have to say. We may not agree, but I'm welcome to listening. So please be encouraged by that.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Are there any closing thoughts that either of you can share, not only about this experience, but about your experience surrounding the topics that we discussed as a whole?
I'm just glad that we had the conversation, and I'm glad that everybody was willing to listen. And if y'all are willing to talk more, I'm sure later on we are too.
Yeah, I did see there was a request for us to share our email addresses, and I will put mine in the chat now so that people can reach me if they want to. I'm personally gratified and always willing to be of service to others. I have a great deal of interest in supporting those who want this kind of engagement, and I'm committed to it, and I'm thrilled to be part of an organization that is stepping up and is getting it done when it comes to engaging with others and looking to find ways of growing and being accessible to its members in every way it can. So thank you, IAVM.
Thank you. Let's get it done.
I would like to take a moment to invite anyone who's in attendance. If you do have questions that you would like to ask the panelists, please feel free to put those in the Q&A section right now. And Ebony, Jason, Kletra, we do have a question from Robin, and she's asking, with a new IAVM president and board recently installed, what do you think are the top 3 things they should do that would foster diversity and leadership roles within our association?
For me, the first thing would be dialogue, which you just heard us talk about and mention. Start a conversation that's not happening. Be willing to participate in a conversation that's been formed, and be authentic and open to the path that the conversation takes.
Yeah.
I would add vulnerability is pretty important to me. That's hugely authentic to me. So I think when you're having those conversations, I hope that you're willing to share a little bit of yourself and you're willing to listen with an open heart. I think there's plenty of folks who I think you will reach when you take that tact. And I think that's the most important thing to do. As far as specific steps, I would also add, I really want to see this AMS work being done, which I know is happening, and Gina confirmed as well. I think that's huge. It will make our work as a committee that much more effective, and the association will know specifically who it is, and then can start the work even more in detail about how to best serve who we are and bring folks in. So.
And I agree with both of them, with the vulnerability and forming the trust in forming something that we may not have the idea all the way there right now, but building on ideas and creating something that we can go forward is the most important thing, and that willingness to open up and talk about it. And so action, I'm about some action.
We have an anonymous question as well is asking, what is one thing you want to see changed within our organization within the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
For me, I'm looking for any time you go in the room, there's always somebody different. I mean, no matter what area you look in, there's somebody different. And there's just a collaboration of everybody. And you won't be afraid to walk into a room. I know that a lot of times it's, you may see all of one and you might not see any of you, so you tend to turn around. I hope that starting now, whenever we're able to gather again, you never walk into a room and you don't want to go in there because of that reason.
And in line with what Ebony just mentioned, I would say, be it a panel, be it at the leadership level, to have a diverse mix of people, to have myself or someone else represented in a way where I can see that action is being taken, that conversations, as meaningful as they may be, don't become rhetoric. And it's being displayed out in every facet of the association to where it leaves no room for question what we're about.
Right.
I look forward to the day when we don't need a diversity and leadership committee, because all of our work is involved and ensconced in every committee that we have. And it's in our DNA in a way so that this isn't necessary, because this is, that committee isn't necessary because what we're doing now is how we do business all the time.
Love that. That is all of the questions that we have for today. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add before we wrap up for this particular presentation?
The 2020 vision is going on in 5 minutes with Cynthia Tucker, who is also our co-chair of the DILC committee. So let's go support her, and I know she has something great to say. So if you guys want to hop on with her, we would love it.
And thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Everyone.
thank you to you three for the wonderful words that you gave us today, because it's so thought-provoking, and especially for myself, whenever I'm thinking about how to market and communicate effectively, you know, the campaigns that we have for the foundation and for IAVM as a whole. And Jason, you had said something, and Kletra followed up with it, that kind of resonated, that we need to carry forward to profile and spotlight our members is I am diversity. So in saying that, you know, it's not what someone stereotypically thinks that diversity and inclusivity is, and that's the problem. You know, people have it in their minds what one thing is, but it's not necessarily that. So I will be reaching out to the three of you to help out with this marketing message. I hope you don't mind, because that is something that sticks. We are all in some way diversity, but we need to start spotlighting our members.
Yeah.
I think that could be a very powerful message in helping to fund the educational endeavors of the Diversity and Inclusive Leadership Committee's campaign that we have going on. So thanks to each and every one of you guys, and thanks to all of the attendees for being here. This has been recorded. We will be working this afternoon to get the recording up on YouTube and then push it out via social media. So if you do have anyone at your venues or friends or family that you feel could benefit from hearing this message today, we will have that push out on social media later on. So thank you guys very much. Please go over to the 2020 vision, and let's all support Cynthia. Thank you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
You guys were great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.